Welcome to The Explainer. We're all about taking big ideas and breaking them down into clear, focused presentations.
You know that feeling, right? That little itch where you're always wanting something more? Well, what if that constant search, that chase, is the very thing keeping us from ever really feeling happy? Today, we're going to dig into a really powerful idea, one that suggests the path to peace isn't about getting what you want at all. It's about completely changing how you relate to the feeling of wanting itself.
So, the idea we're exploring today gets right to the point. It frames our fundamental problem in a super direct way. Our entire reality, everything around us, is basically built by what we desire.
I mean, what a powerful metaphor, right? The idea here is that everything we experience, I'm talking the good, the bad, the wins, the losses, all of it grows directly from the seeds of our own wanting. We're basically living in the middle of a field, constantly harvesting the crops we planted with our own desires.
Okay, and here's where the trap snaps shut. We think we're chasing happiness or success or whatever it is, but because we don't really get what's driving our desires, we end up planting the seeds for the exact opposite, for unhappiness and failure. It's just this incredibly frustrating cycle of putting in all this effort and getting it all wrong.
And this cycle, well, it creates this state where from the moment we're born to the day we die, we're kind of slowly diminishing, not truly living. Every single unfulfilled desire, every chase, it just chips away at us. So instead of a life that's full of vitality, it becomes this slow, continuous process of dying. So what in the world is driving all of this? Well, according to this perspective, the engine behind this whole desire trap is something called the ego. Now, this is what's so fascinating about this definition. The ego isn't who you actually are, not at all. It's the image you've kind of pieced together based on what everyone else thinks of you. It's like a scrapbook of other people's opinions, not your own internal truth. And the ego has a playbook, you know? It operates with a really predictable set of moves, and they all circle around this totally unstable external sense of self. It's always looking outside for confirmation, asking things like, am I good enough? Am I better than that person? Do they like me? And that's what keeps us locked in the game of wanting. There's this amazing little story that just perfectly illustrates the ego's blindness. The idea is that we're all like royalty. Born with this immense inner wealth, but we're completely clueless about it. Instead, our ego has us out on the street begging for these tiny, trivial things like validation or a little bit of success. We're literally begging for pennies to buy a pair of shoes when we own the whole kingdom. All right, so if the ego is the problem, then what's the solution? Well, this is where a really radical shift in perspective comes in. It's about moving away from being the actor on the stage to becoming something else entirely. The idea here is that our true identity isn't the character playing a part in the drama of life. No, it's the silent observer sitting in the audience, just watching it all unfold without getting caught up in it, without judgment. And this is what's called the witness. Think about it like this for a second. You have eyes, right? But you're the one who sees through them. You're the seer behind the eyes. You have ears, but you're the hearer behind the ears. The body is just the instrument. You are the one having the experience through it. And this goes even deeper. Think about your thoughts, your feelings, those moments of success, the moments of failure. They all just come and go, don't they? They're always changing, always in flux. But the one who is watching all of that happen, that part of you, that consciousness, it doesn't change. It's constant. So here's the absolute key. Your true self is this watcher, this witness. It's the steady, unchanging center of your entire being, completely unaffected by all the storms that are raging in your body and your mind. Okay, now this is where things get really interesting, because there's a fascinating paradox here. If the whole goal is to realize that we are this witness, the very act of trying to get there can become its very own trap. I mean, that's a pretty shocking statement, isn't it? The idea that the spiritual search itself, practicing meditation, trying to become enlightened, that very thing can become just another game for the ego. Just another way to put yourself in chains. So here's how it works. We decide we're done with worldly goals, right? Like money or fame, and we trade them in for spiritual goals. But the ego just latches onto this new identity. It gets all proud of being a seeker, it starts comparing its spiritual progress to everyone else's, and before you know it, you're in the exact same trap. It just has a new, more holy-looking costume on.
There's a great story about two monks that illustrates this perfectly. So, one monk carries a woman across a river and then just completely forgets about it, moves on. The other monk, who didn't even touch her, is furious for miles about the broken rule. Finally, the first monk turns to him and says, "Look, I put that woman down by the river hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" It's a perfect example of how the second monk was trapped, not by what happened, but by his ego's obsession with being a good monk.
And all of this brings us to a final, really beautiful metaphor that ties everything we've talked about together.
So in this analogy, our mind is like a lake. And the truth, reality as it actually is the full moon hanging up in the sky.
When our minds are full of waves, the waves of desire, of fear, of ambition, of the ego, the surface of that lake is just too choppy. It's too disturbed. It can't form a clear reflection of the moon. All you get are these broken, distorted little flashes of light. We just can't see things as they really are.
And this is maybe the most crucial point of all. Freedom isn't something you achieve. It's not about more effort, more searching, or trying to force a reflection to appear on the water. It's the natural state that just emerges when all that turmoil stops. When the lake of the mind finally becomes still, the reflection of the moon appears all by itself, perfectly. So we're left with this final, kind of provocative thought. In a world that is screaming at us to constantly strive, to seek, to achieve, what if real freedom isn't found in the search at all? What if it's found in the radical, simple act of just stopping and allowing the waters of your mind to finally become calm?